a story of love. Tell me of heaven above. Teach me of peace here on earth. I can't tell you what that is worth. Teach me to give of my heart and to be one with the whole. This without coming apart, and yet without losing my soul. Teach me to open my eyes. Show me to open my heart. Help me to give of myself to the world. Teach me to teach for a start. Just take me into your arms. Don't shelter me from all harm. Just take me into your love, and that would be more than enough. Open my eyes, show me to open my heart, help me to give of myself to the world, teach me to teach for a start, and just take me into your arms, don't shelter me from all harm, just take me into your love. Enough. Just take me into your love, and that would be more than enough.
Welcome everyone. A happy Sunday, happy Palm Sunday. And welcome to the Unity of the Triangle virtual experience. And welcome, Reverend Neusom. You're far away today.
Yeah, I'm far away today. It's a funny thing that happened to me on the way to this event. I walked into the church, and Anna was walking around with curlers in her hair, and it felt like I had gone, unbeknownst to me, I had gotten married and was coming home. And then we start filming, and we have to be 6 feet apart. It's a strange world, isn't it?
I know, but the love endures, and this is what our ministry is all about, trusting in divine love and being that love and connecting beyond the physical. So may you feel my love, may all our people feel our love, for we are one.
So today we're going to do a talk about Palm Sunday, but it's also going to include kind of a preview of what we're planning to do during the Holy Week. These will be practices we can do to deepen during this time of isolation. So I look forward to this message, and I look forward to seeing you sometime live in the future.
And now let's get on with our service by listening to some really nice music.
The way of the Lord. Prepare ye the way of the Lord. Prepare ye the way of the Lord. Prepare ye the way of
like to share a reading regarding this whole coronavirus situation, a reflection by Father Richard Rohr. But before I do that, I would like to just encourage you to be selective as to what you're taking in or not. And it might be a time in which you can develop or let whatever ideas are coming through you to write them down, maybe share it with our community. So it goes. Right now, I'm trying to take in psychologically, spiritually, and personally, what is God trying to say? When I use that phrase, I'm not saying that God causes suffering to teach us good things, but God does use everything. And if God wanted us to experience global solidarity, I can't think of a better way. We all have access to this suffering, and it bypasses race, gender, religion, and nation. We are in the midst of a highly teachable moment. There's no doubt that this period will be referred for the rest of our lifetimes. We have a chance to go deep and go broad. Globally, we are in this together. Death is being forced on us by great suffering, which I like to say always leads to great love. Real solidarity needs to be felt and suffered. And that's the real meaning of the word suffer, to allow someone else's pain to influence us in a real way. We need to move beyond our own personal feelings and take in the whole. Allow these feelings and invite God's presence to hold and sustain us in a time of collective prayer. I hope this experience will force our attention outwards to the suffering of the most vulnerable. Love always means going beyond yourself to otherness. We must be stretched to an encounter with otherness, and only then do we know it's love. Love alone overcomes fear, and it's the true foundation that lasts. Would love to repeat this as I finish doing this reading for you. Love always means going beyond yourself to otherness. We must be stretched to an encounter with otherness, and only then do we know it's love. So at this moment, I invite you to prepare for meditation, and as we do that, hold that with me, that it is in expanding and stretching the love that we are, that we reach out to others, holding all in the power of God's grace. And so it is.
Alleluia, alleluia.
Let's begin to meditate. So allow yourself to sit in a comfortable way, or perhaps even lie down. But for the next few minutes, we're going to go deeper. So begin by adjusting the body. Adjust the body into a way that you can sit or lie comfortably. And then begin to pay attention to your breath, so that the mind, the body begin to harmonize through the breath. So let the breath be all you're thinking about. If you can, keep your mind just on your breath. So we begin by breathing in and noticing we're breathing in, and then we breathe out and we notice we're breathing out. And in this practice, we're going to do our best to see if we can do 7 breaths. 7 breaths without losing track. Breathing in, you feel yourself breathe in. Breathing out, you say the number 1, quietly or silently to yourself. Breathing in, breathing out, 2. On your own, see if you can bring your attention just to your breath for 5 more breaths. Let us bring our breath to be focused now in the heart chakra, in the center of the chest. Let the breath be focused here, just a few inches above the soft of the belly. Let the breath be focused here, so that the energy might grow here. You might feel love and acceptance. Breathe into the heart. Expand the heart. Let the heart open with each breath. The energy of the heart, the love, the acceptance, let that fill your whole body. And when we fill the body, let the energy of the love and acceptance radiate out from the body into the world. So now this is not just about us, but is about the world. Healing ourselves, healing the world, loving ourselves, loving the world, at one with ourselves, at one with the world. And peace flow from us to all beings. May the divine hold us all in its embrace. And may we come to know ourselves as one with the one and one with each other. And so it is. Amen. Today, in our is our celebration of Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday was an event that happened the last week of Jesus' life, and it happened this way. He comes into town riding on a donkey, which was at the time a symbol from the Old Testament of a king coming into his capital. So he comes in riding on a donkey, and the people are so excited, they lay down their cloaks, they lay down palms, and hence we get the name Palm Sunday, because they are making this a triumphant entry into the city. It was a big deal, and most of the people were having a great time doing it. However, I have the thought that Jesus, knowing what was coming in the next week, might have had a more complex view of the thing. He came in humbly, not riding on a horse, but rather on a donkey, which could be a mixed message in a sense. I am the king, but I am also your humble servant. And in that, he begins his week in Jerusalem and in Bethany, near Jerusalem, preparing himself, and the events unfold in such a way that he meets his crucifixion on Friday, and by Sunday he is resurrected from the dead. This process of using the week of Passover, using that week for preparation for transformation of our own character, is something I would like us to consider doing ourselves. We have laid out a series of practices, one for each day in the next 6 days, that you can use to begin to deepen into this Christ nature of your own being. We are using the Passover week not just to celebrate Jesus' life and Jesus' triumphant exchange of us humanness for his Christness. We also want to do the same. We want to become more of who we really are, our Christ nature, and less constricted by our human nature. And to do that, we have thought that if we followed the Bible story of Jesus in Jerusalem and Bethany during this week of Passover, we would also perhaps find it a helpful template to do our own transformational work. Each person, of course, will be doing it in their own way. Each person will have their own timing and rhythm of it, but we have laid out 6 different practices for that. And the first one I want to say is a cleansing. So the reason we chose a cleansing was that on the first day of Jesus being in town and in Jerusalem, he cleanses the temple. He goes in and he throws out the money changers. Of course, now, if you were a radical and you thought you might have enemies with the high priest, etc., I doubt that would be your first order of business, is to really go in the temple and tear it up, make a big fuss, throw out the money changers. You know, we minister types, we priestly types, care about the money. So you wouldn't do that without incurring some wrath, which he did. But it is the first step for each of us to begin to make room for a new being inside of us. So the question really is, what is it in your experience that needs cleansing? What do you need to throw out? What do you need to release and let go? What is it about your personality, your belief system, your habits, your conversations? What of those need to be cleansed? Do you gossip? Do you talk about other people? Do you fail to take care of yourself physically? Is there something about the way you see others as separate and different from you and need to be corrected? Is there something about you that keeps you from opening your heart and being a happy person? What is it that needs to be cleansed? This is what we hope you will pay attention to on the first day, on Monday. And then on Tuesday, we want to know what you're preparing. What are you being prepared for? What do you think is coming for you? To give some contemplation to that. What happened in the Bible that that is in preparation is Jesus goes to a dinner at the house of a leper. A woman comes up behind him and has an alabaster jar of an expensive ointment, and she pours it over his head and anoints him on Tuesday. And he is sitting with his disciples, and Judas says, "Why was this money wasted on you? It could have been given to the poor. It could have done something." And Jesus said, "You have the poor with you all the time. I'm only here for a little while. This is my anointing preparing me for what is to come." That's what we're thinking. You have your troubles all the time. You have lots to think about. There's a lot in your life that where you might feel inadequate or poor. This is not what we're thinking about today on Tuesday. On Tuesday, what we're thinking about is, what is it you're preparing yourself for? What are you creating in the future? What aspect of your divine nature are you going to be revealing to yourself and to the world in the coming week and in the coming life? What is your preparation for? So that's what we're doing on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, we have a big one, and that is betrayal. And the question really is, where are you betraying yourself? Where in your life do you intend to do something, but in a sense sabotage it? Somehow you keep yourself from doing that which you know you want to do, that which you probably have felt called to do, but haven't taken the step deeply enough. You just never know what it is. It's different for every person. I want to tell you a little story that happened to me. I was here in the sanctuary. It was in October, and I was getting up to do my Sunday message, which we start first with the meditation. And as I got up to do the meditation, I realized something was wrong with me physically, but I thought I could get through with it. Anyway, it turns out I was having a stroke. And so I had to leave during that. But while I was waiting for someone to help me out the door to go to the hospital, I heard inside my head this voice that said, "You should have bought the boat." Now, I had been intending to buy a boat a few months before to begin to reclaim some of the adventurous aspect of my personality. I had it all mapped out, and then kind of at the last moment, I found other reasons not to go and pursue it completely to the conclusion of ownership. And I thought, well, that was a disappointment, but not that big a deal. It may be that which you were called to do is actually to enjoy your life. Maybe what you're being called to do is what is fun. Maybe what you're being called to do is to be the happy person you once were as a child. Maybe that's it. Or it could be serious, something that you need to change. It's heavy, it's big, but it is yours, whatever it is. Figure out what it is. Today, we want to look at where we're betraying what's being called upon us. Now, on Thursday, we have this question about what are your relationships that you need to change? What relationships somehow you need to be humble enough to make the difference about? What is that? This comes out of the story of Jesus at the Last Supper. Before they begin to eat, he puts a towel around his waist, and he goes around to each of the disciples and he washes their feet. You know, it is a humbling thing if you've ever done that, washed other people's feet. You can't be all that proud as you bend down and you touch the dirtiest parts of their body, and they have to just receive it. But for the person doing it, it's really an act of humility. And here's Jesus, who is just a few days before coming triumphantly into the city on his donkey, people laying down their cloaks and their palms to make the path more special for him. All this adoration. And he is taking the night before he goes to the cross, he takes his own self less proudly, humbly, and washes the feet of the disciple. These acts of humility can be guideposts of how we should clean up our relationships with other people. So often I have seen in my life and in other people's lives that what really keeps us from having loving, deep relationships is the sense of self-protection and essentially a pride about who we are. We don't want to be less than in our own minds. This is essentially the ego's work. The ego sets up this idea of who we are, and in setting it up for being who we are, then it has to defend it. And part of that is this pride of who we are. Even if we're not even that proud of who we are as human beings, we would defend it like we were, and we fight with others. Instead of being humble enough to realize that each of us is pursuing happiness to the best degree that we know at the moment. We're trying, we're doing what we can. We do basically do what we think is right or is beneficial for ourselves at the very least. If not beneficial for everybody, at least we think it's beneficial for us in the moment. And all of us are doing the same thing. A sense of humility, a sense of, oh, I see, you're just trying your best. Not a place of judgment, but like, I see you were just trying your best, and it turns out I'm sorry, I was trying my best too. So one of the ways that we have practiced humility here and a deeper sense of understanding of who we really are is through this prayer which is called Ho'oponopono. Many of you know this prayer well, but for those of you who don't, a brief description is this. You say these words, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you. And when you say I'm sorry, you're essentially saying that what I have seen wrong in the world or wrong in you or our reaction, I have as a seed inside of my own consciousness. I have a pattern inside of me that is just like this. So if you find that there's somebody you feel like you really need to judge or that seems to be doing wrong, you might just say something like this, I'm sorry. I see it in the world, therefore it must be in me. I'm sorry. I take responsibility for what I am noticing out there. I notice now is also in me. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. And that please forgive me is to your higher self or to you, but it doesn't mean like you've done something wrong necessarily, but that you are infected with a bad virus, a mental virus that needs to be cleansed. Please forgive me. Take this virus from me. And so we pull this virus out by saying, please forgive me. And we wait, I do, at least when I do this prayer, I wait until I feel that shift, that something's changed. I'm sorry, please forgive me. And when I feel that, then naturally the next phrase would be, thank you. Thank you. To whom or to what, it's not important. Just a sense of gratitude. Thank you. And then I love you. And this statement of I love you is not directed just in a tiny, narrow way to those people who please us. Rather, it is toward everyone in all directions. Thank you. Thank you. I love you. And you move this out in all directions. And one of the things you will notice when you do that, if you're like me, is that you can kind of do that, and then you bump up against something else you find wrong in the world, or in someone else, or even in yourself. And then you come back to this prayer again, because now you've seen some other virus that you share inside of you, and you say that, thank you, I love you, oh, but not everything, so I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Then thank you, I love you. And so you can go, cleaning up your whole world, and the whole world can be acceptable to you. So then we come to Friday. Of course, this is called Good Friday in the Christian tradition. It's an odd phrase for it because this is the day that Jesus is crucified. But it is Good Friday because it is the transformational day, the day in which things are changed. That which was less than is being sacrificed for that which is greater. Jesus lays down his life as the human so that he might take it up as the divine. He lays it down as being a single person so that he might become this universal presence for all people. As he says, as he's talking about being crucified, if I be lifted up, I draw all people to me. He is saying, I draw all people up with me because I am in this transformational process. I will do whatever it takes to become the Christ. And so he sets the divine example for us, how to be a Christ. And one of the things he says in this process, of course, is, Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. Is this not the wisest set of words that you've ever come across when dealing with relationship? But also in dealing with yourself. You're doing your best. You think you're doing your best, but please spare yourself the chastisement, the anger, the judgment about yourself, because in fact, if you really, really knew what you were doing, you would have done better. You would have done more great. You have been more gracious, more loving, more kind, more wise, whatever. You would have done that. And so would someone else. So really here, what are the stubborn beliefs and attitudes that you need to have let go of before you can become that which you totally are destined, preordained to be, the Christ of your own life? What do you have to do? What part has to die so that you might live as though you were the Son of God, as though you were the child of God, the one that we have been pointing at for years? What do you have to do to actually become that? And when you have made that deep and profound commitment, then on Saturday what we expect you to do is to let it percolate. Let it unfold. Most of these transformational processes have a time in its becoming. It's not always instantaneous. So give yourself Saturday just to sit with it, to let it be whatever it is. Let maybe a deeper understanding of what you're really asking for come about. Maybe just to let your bones reorganize themselves. Whatever. Give yourself the day off. God took the seventh day off. Why not you? Take the day off. Let it percolate. And then we'll meet back here on Sunday. The Sunday will be Easter Sunday, the day in which we celebrate Jesus' rising from the dead. The story of Jesus coming back to life is the story of us. We die to what we once were, and we become what we are choosing and allowing to be. As the Apostle Paul said, I die daily. He dies daily so that he can be reborn daily into a better version of himself, into the Christ aspect of himself. This is why we choose to go through this transformational process, not so that it would be painful and difficult and, oh, we're not good enough, but so that we might express, become happier and brighter lights, and we might find our days filled with gusto and with happiness, and that we might be, in the way we are, just by our very nature, a blessing upon the world, and that we might take the gifts that we've been given, use them not just for ourselves, which will be wonderful, but to use them for the world at large, that we might have more joy, more happiness, more fulfillment in this lifetime, right here, right now. So we say to ourselves, I'm willing. I'm willing to go on this journey that Jesus did 2,000 years before. I'm willing to be changed. I'm willing to be brighter, happier, clearer expression of the divine. This is what I choose to be. And so join me in prayer as we prepare ourselves for this. So as we begin to move into a state of prayer or meditation, once again, let us feel our bodies and pay attention to our breath and bring ourselves into this place where we are at one with ourselves. Both the mind and the body are one with themselves. Together, then we say this prayer, body, mind, and soul. I give myself I give myself totally and completely to the transformational process. I am a child of God, and I wish to express it fully. I commit myself to doing the work that is mine to do to make the way straight for the divine to come through me as me. May I become that which I have been promised I am, a Christ, a holy being, a fully awake to my own nature and the nature of each person I see. May this happen with grace and ease, and may there be love and joy in my life throughout the whole process. And may I share that love and joy with everyone. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Newsom, so much for your inspiring message. And I'm back here just to let everybody know that we are fully committed to all of you. This is a time in which we get to serve you in some other way, trusting that we not only get through this period, but that we can learn and expand through this period of time in which we're going to be apparently separate. And Holy Week starting today, we highly encourage that you get involved through everything that we're putting out there to support in your mindful transformation process that we know you're going to be engaging in throughout this week. So as I heard this week, let's not make this whole time about us. Many times when we are maybe selfishness or our fear makes us selfish, but we need to be reminded that there's nothing really to fear. There's only one presence, one power active in all this universe and in our lives. And like Scripture says in John, 1 John 4, greater is He who lives in me than anything that lives out there. So I invite you to give and practice generosity from that place of empowerment. Truth empower us to know that divine love as the source can never be depleted. We can never outgive God. And from that awareness, I'm going to ask you to maybe either now or after the service to go online on unitytriangle.org in the donate button and do your donation there. It's really, really easy. Less than a minute, you can get it done. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for practicing this generosity at this time. And so we'd like to then ask you to give in some other way. And to me, giving of our time, energy, and faith in the form of prayer is really, really powerful. And this is what we're going to be doing at this moment as I bring all of your prayer requests into the forefront. Bringing every name from this prayer box into the center of our hearts. Taking a deep and centering, healing breath. To just know at every level of our awareness that the good that we are all seeking through this period in the history of humankind is seeking us. That as we know there's only one presence, one power, one mind, one heart, we can trust that we are safe, that we are divinely protected, that there's nothing to fear when we establish ourselves in the truth of who we are and who God is. And from that truth, we're able to extend the love beyond this box, beyond our community, into the greater community, especially all doctors and nurses, ambulance drivers, hospital administrators, those who work in maintenance, the scientists who are diligently working for a cure. We place them all in this awareness, trusting and knowing that they are divinely guided, just like we are. In the presence of love we stand, and nothing can disturb us there. And from that presence, we continue to move forward to love, to trust, and to serve. For that and more, we give thanks. Thank you, God. Thank you. Amen. Now join me in affirming divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
You're broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find the fighter, but I see it in you, and we gon' walk it out. Mountains, we gon' walk it out. Mountains, and I'll rise up, I'll rise like a day, I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, high like the waves, I'll rise up, in spite of the ache, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you. When the silence isn't quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe, I know you feel like crying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet and move mountains, bring a world to its feet. Mountains, and I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you. like the day, I'll rise up. In spite of the ache, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. We'll rise up, high like the waves, we'll rise up. In spite of the ache, we'll rise up, and we'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for
Happy Palm Sunday. It's great having you here today. Remember to stay in tune with us during the week through prayer and listening to our suggestions online. And we will see you on Sunday next week. It's Easter. It's a time of celebration when we renew and we reconnect. Happy week. Happy Holy Week.
The light of God surrounds us.
I am the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
I am the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God.
And the presence of God watches over us.
I am the presence of God.
Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.